The question here is that in Advaita Vedanta, we follow a process of self-enquiry. We inquire into our experience of ourselves. And the method for that enquiry is one principle that we take up. The principle that is taken up is, whatever I am aware of, I am not that. Whatever we are aware of is an object, not awareness itself. And that which we are aware of is an object to awareness, not awareness itself. So by this process, we eliminate from our self-concept all objects. You see, the problem is that we have identified ourselves with things which are not ourself, with the body, with the mind. We take these to be I, me, but we are not these. Vedanta tells us that we are awareness, pure awareness. Now, how do we reach that? How do we appreciate what we truly are? By this method. This is the method that has been adopted, that the real nature of the self is that which is aware, and anything that we are aware of is not the real self, is an object to the real self. It's a very powerful method. Now, if you follow this method, even if you think about this method, then you will come to this question, which this gentleman has asked. The question is, so our ultimate goal is to know ourselves, self-realization, self-knowledge. Whatever we are aware of is an object, not the self. So when we reach self-knowledge, we'll be knowing the self, but then the self will be an object, because whatever we know is an object. Then it will not be the real self. And this question has to be appreciated. Then you can understand the beauty of the answer. So the answer is that the self can never be known as an object. Whatever is an object is not the self, and that criterion remains true till the very end also. Whatever you know as an object is not the self. So, will the self remain unknown? If the goal is self-knowledge, will we fail in attaining the goal? Will it remain with the self? Will my real self always remain unknown? No. It is more than known. It is not known in the usual sense of knowledge. What is the usual sense of knowledge? Whatever we know as an object, the usual sense of knowledge is by knowing something as an object. I, the consciousness, I deploy instruments of knowledge through the mind and the senses. So through the mind and the eyes, I, the consciousness, I see. What do I see? Objects, forms. I, this awareness, through the mind and the ears, I hear. What do I hear? Objects, sound. Similarly, other objects are there. For each sense organ, separate object. There is smell, and there is taste, and there is touch. Not only that, there are subtle objects in our mind itself. Thought and imagination and memory and ideas and desires, emotions. These are also objects. Why? Because we are aware of them. So at the level of the external world, the objects, physical body which is part of the external world, object. The breath, we are aware of it, object. Thoughts, emotions, memories, aware of it, object. Not the self. Beyond that, even the intellect which we are using right now for understanding all this, that is also an object. It's a process we are aware of. Beyond that, if you push, as he says, you will reach a blankness. The blankness we experience in deep sleep. The blankness we experience in deep meditation also. Because it is experienced, that's also an object. It is not us. So we are not the physical body, object. We are not the breath, the pranic body, object. We are not the mental body, mind. We are not the intellect. We are not even the blankness beyond the intellect. Not Annamaya Kosha, not Pranamaya Kosha, not Manomaya Kosha, not Vijnanamaya Kosha, not Anandamaya Kosha. Then, see, here is the beauty of it. We now are looking for our real self. And our tendency is to objectify. Why? Because we have always seen objects. Whatever we know are always objects. So somewhere, even if we say, I know that the self is not an object, we say that, we think that, but unconsciously the impulse is to objectify the self. It can never be objectified. It is not an object of awareness. It is the awareness itself. Then how is it known? Will it be unknown? No, it is more than known. In every act of knowledge it is known. Whenever you know something, the presence of objects, you are knowing the self itself. Whenever you know the absence of objects, you're still knowing the self itself. It's like, let me give you an example. It's only an example. So when I show you the clock, what do you see? It's a clock. And then I show you the mic here. What do you see? Mic. I show you the cloth here. What do you see? Cloth. Clock, mic, cloth. 3 different objects. But notice there's something else you are missing. It is not just clock. It is the light reflected of the clock. There is clock here plus light. The light is falling on it and then it's illumining the clock. So you're seeing the light. The same light falls on this mic and illumines it. It is mic plus light that gives you the experience of the microphone. It is cloth plus light which gives you the experience of the cloth. What is common to all of them? Clock is different from mic is different from cloth, but the same light is illumining all of them. In the same way, there is consciousness in every experience, in every knowledge of every object. One thing is there, consciousness is always there. Now, why did I say it's only an example? One thing one must be careful of here. The clock is a material object, but the light which is reflected from this clock is also a material object. So that does not apply to consciousness. What I mean is, in every knowledge, consciousness is there, but not as an object, as the illuminer of that object. Once we realize that, then we will find it in every knowledge. In Kenopanishad it is said, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. In every episode of knowledge, in seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, in thinking, remembering, understanding, forgetting, loving, hating, whatever it is, the same consciousness is shining everywhere, but not as an object. So it is self-revealed. There is a very important conception in Advaita Vedanta, self-revealed. Self-revealed is in Sanskrit Swaprakasha. Swaprakasha. It does not know itself. It is, in English, self-revealed or self-luminous, Swaprakasha. It is revealed by itself continuously, but it's not an object to itself. In philosophy, self-reflexivity is a fault. Self-reflexivity means nothing can make itself an object. So, for example, I can use this finger to touch things. I can touch the microphone, I can touch the cloth, I can touch the table. This fingertip I can touch. But can this fingertip touch itself? No. It can touch other fingertips, but it cannot touch itself. Right? In the same way, these eyes, they can see other things. But they cannot see themselves. And don't say that you can see yourself in a mirror. You are seeing a reflection of the eyes in the mirror. The eyes cannot see themselves directly the way they are seeing other things. So self-reflexivity is not allowed, or it's seen as a fault in philosophy. Self-reflexivity means something knowing itself, something referring to itself. Eyes do not see themselves. The finger does not touch itself. Similarly, consciousness does not know itself. So when enlightenment comes, you cannot say that the self will know itself. No. It does not technically know itself. But it is more than known. It is self-revealed. It's self-luminous. Not only in enlightenment, in every knowledge, in all ordinary knowledge, in religious knowledge, spiritual knowledge, in all kinds of knowledge, consciousness is self-revealed. Just as the light is common when it's reflected of all the objects. Also, the eyes, when we see different things, we are seeing different things, but what is common to all of them? That the eyes are seeing, same eyes are seeing everything. And I touch different things with the fingertips. What is common to that? The same fingertip is touching everything. So, in touching everything, I can say that I know that the fingertip. In seeing everything, the eyes are self-revealed. In self-knowledge, what happens is you realize the luminous nature of consciousness, and then in every act of knowledge, it doesn't have to be only Brahma Jnana. In every act of knowledge, the self is revealed, consciousness is revealed. That in dualistic language, it is called seeing God everywhere, seeing God in everyone, seeing God in every experience. So the answer to the question is, when self-realization comes, will the self know itself? If it knows itself, then it becomes an object. It cannot be the self anymore. No, it will not know itself as an object. But the self-luminous nature of consciousness will be revealed to us and will be continuously available. It is already continuously available to us. We don't recognize it, that's all. We will recognize it in thereafter every act of knowledge, in every episode of knowledge, it will be recognized. And that is called freedom in Kena Upanishad. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. In every cognition, when consciousness reveals itself, when you realize it, the presence of consciousness, yourself, the self, real self, that is called immortality. Then you may live anywhere, you may live in any way. Yatra tatra, in the language of Ashtavakra. Yatha tatha. As whatever your condition, you may be a monk, you may be a householder, you may be fully active in the world, you may be totally withdrawn from the world, you may be healthy, the body may be healthy or sick, you may be young or old, a body. In whatever condition, you may be well known in the world, you may be absolutely unknown, whatever is the condition of your life, wherever you exist, you are that one ever free consciousness, you are totally free. And that is Jivan Mukti, freedom while living. Yes.